Loneliness isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a quiet presence that slips into your life unnoticed. It sits beside you on the sofa, lingers in the empty side of the bed, and follows you through your day like a shadow. I thought I was fine, just busy, just independent. I mistook the ache in my chest for normal adulthood, not realizing I was moving through life detached and numb. I ignored the signs, covering the void with routines and responsibilities. My life looked complete from the outside, but inside, I was navigating an empty landscape. I didn't know I was lonely, not really. Not until a small, unassuming cat walked into my life. That's when everything began to change. Sometimes it takes the quietest companion to break the silence you didn't know was suffocating you. My life was full, routines, responsibilities, people to greet, tasks to complete. But beneath the surface there was a persistent emptiness. Interactions were polite but shallow, and the silence at home was deafening. Each day was a repeat of the last: wake, work, eat, sleep. I told myself this was adulthood, that independence was enough, but deep down I knew something was missing. I was waiting for something, though I didn't know what. I was adrift, going through the motions. I never expected the missing piece would arrive on 4 paws. Sometimes the thing you need most finds you when you least expect it. My days were structured, my life orderly, but the emptiness crept in when the routine ended. Evenings were silent, the apartment a place I occupied, not a home. I convinced myself solitude was strength, that I preferred the quiet. But beneath the surface, I felt like a spectator in my own life. The ache of loneliness lingered, no matter how busy I stayed. I was surrounded by life, yet profoundly alone. I didn't know what was missing. I didn't know change was coming. Sometimes, the smallest presence can fill the biggest void. I just didn't know it would have fur and whiskers. I built walls around myself, responsibilities, routines, excuses. I called it privacy, but it was isolation. Interactions were safe, shallow, never personal. I convinced myself I didn't need deep connections. Independence became my shield, solitude my identity. But the walls kept warmth out as much as they kept pain in. Life became a performance for an audience of one. The emptiness always returned, reminding me my fortress was also my prison. I was safe, but utterly alone. I never imagined a small creature could find a crack and change everything. Evenings were the hardest, hours stretched out, filled with heavy silence. I turned on the TV for noise, cleaned already clean spaces, scrolled endlessly through my phone. It was all to avoid the quiet, to avoid facing the truth. My apartment was orderly, but lifeless, a museum, not a home. I told myself I was content, but I was just stuck. The joy had drained from my days, replaced by obligation. I was functioning, not living. I didn't have the words for what I felt. I had no idea my life was about to be upended. Sometimes it takes a chance encounter to shatter the silence forever. He didn't arrive at a perfect moment. His timing was anything but convenient. I wasn't looking for a companion. I was just trying to get through each day. But there he was, a small, shivering cat under a bush on a rainy night. My first instinct was to walk away, but something in his eyes stopped me. Against my better judgment, I took him in, just for the night, I told myself. I set up a bed for him in the kitchen, planning to find him a proper home. He curled up quietly, a temporary guest in my silent apartment. In his cautious eyes, I saw a reflection of my own guarded heart. We were both outsiders, unsure where we belonged. Sometimes the most unexpected visitor is exactly what you need. For the first few days, he moved through my home like a little ghost. He was so quiet and careful that sometimes I would forget he was even there. He explored my apartment with a hesitant curiosity, his paws making no sound on the floorboards. He would investigate each room as if it were a temporary shelter, a place he couldn't fully trust yet. He would sniff at the legs of chairs and peer under the sofa, always ready to retreat at the slightest sudden movement or unexpected noise. His presence was a quiet question mark in the middle of my predictable routine, a small, furry disruption to the sterile order I had so carefully maintained for so long. His caution seemed to mirror my own internal state. As he navigated the unfamiliar territory of my home, I found myself navigating the unfamiliar territory of my own emotions. I didn't fully trust myself to care for him properly. What did I know about cats? What if I did something wrong? What if he got sick? These questions were a constant hum in the back of my mind, a new layer of anxiety on top of the old. I watched him, and he watched me, and in the space between us, there was a shared sense of uncertainty. He didn't trust that this new place was safe, and I didn't trust that I was capable of making it so. The silence in my apartment changed. It was no longer the heavy, echoing emptiness I was used to. Now, it was a silence filled with anticipation. It was the quiet of listening for the soft patter of his paws, of waiting to see his little head peek around a corner. The space, which had once felt so vacant, was now occupied by another living, breathing being. This small creature, with his tentative movements and watchful eyes, had single-handedly altered the atmosphere of my entire home. The stillness was no longer stagnant. It was alive with a new, subtle energy that I found both unsettling and strangely comforting. I kept a physical and emotional distance from him during those early days. I measured out his food, changed his water, and cleaned his litter box with a detached efficiency. I was performing the duties of a caretaker, but I was holding my heart back, refusing to get attached. This was a temporary arrangement, I reminded myself constantly. He was just a stray I was helping. I was doing a good deed, and soon he would be on his way. I was building a wall around the idea of him, trying to protect myself from the potential for more complication, more mess, and more eventual loss. I had no idea the wall was already starting to crumble. I kept repeating a mantra to myself in those first few weeks. It's just a cat. I would say it under my breath when I found myself worrying if he was warm enough at night. I would think it when I caught myself smiling as he chased a dust bunny across the floor. I said it to remind myself not to get too invested, not to let this small creature take up too much space in my life or in my head. It was a phrase meant to minimize his significance, to reduce him to a simple, manageable fact. He wasn't a friend. He wasn't family. He was just an animal I was temporarily housing. It was a way to keep my emotions in check. This mantra was my defense against the change he represented. My life was built on control and predictability, and he was the embodiment of the unpredictable. He didn't follow my schedules. He slept when he wanted, explored when he wanted, and hid when he wanted. He was a small agent of chaos in my perfectly ordered world. By telling myself he was just a cat, I was trying to shrink his impact, to convince myself that his presence wouldn't fundamentally alter the life I had so carefully constructed. I was trying to hold on to the familiar loneliness I understood, rather than embrace the unknown territory of companionship that he offered. But the truth was, he was already becoming more than just a cat. He was becoming a presence, a quiet witness to my life. When I came home from work, the silence that greeted me was different, because I knew he was there, waiting somewhere inside. When I sat alone in the evenings, I was no longer truly alone, because his small furry body would be curled up on a nearby chair, a silent companion in the dim light. These small things began to chip away at the walls I had built. His simple existence was a constant, gentle pressure against the solitude I had wrapped around myself like a protective cloak. I had no idea how wrong I was about him and about myself. I thought I was the one saving him, offering him a temporary refuge from the cold and the rain. But in reality, something much more profound was beginning to unfold. He was not just a cat passing through. He was an anchor, slowly and quietly pulling me back to shore. Every time I told myself, "It's just a cat," a deeper part of me knew it was a lie. I was standing on the edge of a significant transformation, and this small, unassuming creature was the one leading me there. One soft, tentative paw step at a time. The hard moments didn't just disappear when he arrived. In some ways, they became clearer, sharper, thrown into relief by his quiet presence. Having him there didn't magically fix the underlying sadness or the anxiety that had been my constant companions for so long. There were still days when I felt a profound sense of exhaustion without any clear reason. It was a heavy, soul-deep weariness that settled over me like a thick fog, making even the simplest tasks feel like monumental efforts. It was the kind of tired that sleep couldn't cure, a fatigue born from carrying an invisible weight for too long. On those days, my mind would refuse to slow down. It would race with a relentless loop of worries and self-criticism, a chaotic internal monologue that left me feeling drained and overwhelmed. The world outside my window would seem too loud, too bright, too demanding. All I wanted was to retreat, to pull the covers over my head and disappear from the world, to find a moment of peace from the noise inside my own head. These were the moments when my carefully constructed facade of being fine would crumble, leaving me feeling raw and exposed in the solitude of my own home, even with him there. The nights were often the longest. Lying in the dark, the silence would amplify my thoughts, turning worries into fears and loneliness into a palpable ache. Sleep felt like a distant shore I couldn't reach. I would stare at the ceiling, counting the hours, feeling the weight of another day approaching, a day I felt utterly unprepared to face. These were the difficult moments, the private struggles that no one else could see. They were the times when the emptiness I had lived with for so long felt most acute, a hollow space inside me that seemed impossible to fill. But it was in these very moments of despair that I started to truly notice him. It was as if my own vulnerability made me more attuned to his quiet, steady presence. Before, he was just a small creature I was caring for, a part of my new routine. But on those hard days and long nights, he became something more. He was no longer just a ghost in my home. He was a focal point in the darkness, a small warm anchor in the turbulent sea of my own emotions. His existence began to intersect with my struggles in a way I never anticipated. When the weight of the day became too much to bear, I would often find myself simply sitting on the floor, my back against the sofa, too tired to move. I wouldn't cry. I wouldn't even think. I would just sit, letting the exhaustion wash over me. And that's when it would happen. He would emerge from wherever he was sleeping or hiding. He would walk over to me, not with a demanding meow, but with a slow, deliberate grace. He would come closer, step by careful step, until he was just a few feet away, watching me with his big, unblinking eyes. He didn't try to climb into my lap or ask for attention. He would simply sit there near me, a silent witness to my silent struggle. When I stayed silent, he stayed silent too. There was a profound stillness in his companionship. He wasn't trying to fix me or cheer me up. He was just there, sharing the quiet space with me, his presence a small, steady flame in the darkness of my mood. In his quiet observation, there was no judgment, no expectation, only a simple, uncomplicated act of being with me in my moment of difficulty. This simple act of staying near me began to feel like a lifeline. In a world where I felt invisible, he saw me. He didn't see the competent adult who went to work and paid the bills. He saw the person sitting on the floor, lost and overwhelmed. He saw the real me, stripped of all pretense, and he didn't run away. He stayed. His quiet presence was a constant, gentle reminder that I was not completely alone in my struggle. Someone was there. Someone knew I was hurting, even if I never said a word out loud. He didn't need explanations for my sadness. He didn't need me to articulate the chaos in my mind or the ache in my heart. My state of being was enough for him. He seemed to understand on a primal, instinctual level that something was wrong, and his response was not to demand or to question, but simply to be present. He was teaching me a new language, one without words, a language of shared space and quiet understanding. He was showing me that comfort didn't always have to come from a conversation or a solution. I began to understand a profound truth through his simple actions. Sometimes, presence is far more powerful than advice. People, often with the best intentions, try to fix your pain with words. They say, "Cheer up," or "It will get better," or they offer solutions to problems you can't even define. Their words can feel hollow, creating more distance instead of closing it. They want to solve the problem, but sometimes the problem isn't something that can be solved. Sometimes, it just needs to be endured. And you just need someone to endure it with you, without trying to change it. My cat offered no advice. He had no platitudes or easy answers. He couldn't tell me that everything would be okay. All he could offer was his small, warm body and his unwavering, quiet presence. When I felt my lowest, he would eventually, after his period of quiet observation, come closer still. He would curl up near my legs or, on braver days, place a tentative paw on my arm. This small point of contact was more grounding than any well-meaning phrase I had ever heard. It was a physical, tangible connection to another living being. His presence was a silent declaration. "You are not alone in this room. I am here with you." It was a message that bypassed all my defenses and spoke directly to the lonely core of my being. He wasn't trying to pull me out of the darkness. He was simply sitting with me in it, making it feel a little less vast, a little less terrifying. His companionship didn't erase the pain, but it made it bearable. It gave me something to hold on to, a small anchor of reality, when my mind was lost in a storm of anxiety and sorrow. Through these difficult moments, our bond deepened in a way I never thought possible. It was forged not in the easy, happy times, but in the crucible of my quietest struggles. He was not just a pet I was caring for. He was becoming my confidant, my silent partner in navigating the challenging landscape of my own mind. He taught me that true support isn't always about finding the right words to say. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do for someone who is struggling is to just stay, just be there. And he just stayed. As the days turned into weeks, I started noticing the small things, the quiet rituals that were becoming the new rhythm of our life together. It was a language without words, a series of tiny gestures that spoke volumes. I began to see that he was always aware of where I was. When I moved from the living room to the kitchen, a few moments later his little head would peek around the corner. He would follow me from room to room, not demanding anything, but simply choosing to be in the same space as me. It was a silent, constant companionship that began to fill the empty corners of my home and my heart. He had a specific spot he would wait for me. When he heard my keys in the door at the end of the day, I would open it to find him sitting on the small rug in the hallway, looking up at me expectantly. He wasn't jumping or meowing loudly, just sitting, waiting. This simple act of being awaited, of being expected, was something I hadn't realized how much I missed. It was a quiet welcome that transformed my return home from an arrival into an empty space to a reunion. Someone was happy I was back. Someone had been waiting for my presence to complete their day. At night, he grew bolder. He no longer slept in a distant corner of the room. Instead, he would find a spot on the bed, close enough for me to feel the warmth of his small body, but not so close as to be intrusive. Sometimes, in the middle of the night, I would wake up and feel the soft, rhythmic vibration of his purring next to me. It was the most comforting sound in the world, a gentle engine of contentment in the deep silence of the night. This physical closeness was a profound comfort, a constant living reassurance that I was not alone in the dark. Slowly, because of these small, consistent acts of affection, I stopped feeling so invisible. For so long, I had moved through my days feeling like a ghost, my presence barely registering on the world around me. But to him, I was the center of his world. His gaze followed me, his routine revolved around mine, and his comfort was found in my proximity. He saw me. He acknowledged my existence in 100 tiny ways every single day. This simple, unwavering attention from a small animal began to heal a part of me I didn't even know was so broken. His dependence on me began to shift something deep within my own psyche. Suddenly, my life was not just about my own survival, my own quiet endurance. I had a reason to get out of bed in the morning, even on the days when the fog of sadness was thick. He needed to be fed. His gentle paw tapping on my face or his soft meow from the kitchen was a call to action that I could not ignore. It was a simple, non-negotiable responsibility, but it was powerful. It pulled me out of my own head and into the present moment, grounding me in the immediate needs of another being. This newfound sense of purpose extended beyond the mornings. It gave me a reason to come home from work. Before, the end of the workday often felt like a slow walk towards an empty evening. But now, I knew someone was waiting for me. The thought of his small furry face waiting by the door was a powerful motivator. It made the commute feel shorter, the burdens of the day feel lighter. I was no longer just returning to an apartment. I was returning home to my cat. This subtle shift in perspective changed everything about how I viewed my evenings and my personal space. I had someone depending on me, truly and completely. His well-being, his comfort, his entire world rested in my hands. This was a weight, yes, but it was a good weight. It was a weight that gave me a sense of importance and value that I hadn't felt in a very long time. My actions mattered. My presence mattered. If I wasn't there, he would be alone. If I didn't care for him, no one would. This responsibility was not a burden. It was an anchor. It held me steady when the currents of my own emotions threatened to pull me under. And without me even realizing it was happening, that simple truth began to save me. The act of being needed, of being essential to another creature's happiness and survival, began to fill the hollow spaces inside me. It gave me a role, a clear and vital purpose that my job or my solitary routines could never provide. I was no longer just a person drifting through life. I was a caretaker. I was a source of food, warmth, and safety. I was his person. And in becoming his person, I slowly started to become myself again. Caring for him was a straightforward physical process. I had to pay attention to his needs. Was his water bowl full? Did he have enough food? Was his litter box clean? These were simple tasks, but they required me to be present and mindful. I couldn't just go through the motions on autopilot. I had to observe him, to learn his habits, to understand his silent cues. This act of paying close attention to another being was a form of meditation. It forced me to step outside of the chaotic noise of my own thoughts and focus on something tangible, something real and right in front of me. This process of caring for him slowly, almost imperceptibly, began to teach me how to care for myself again. As I made sure he had fresh food to eat, I started to think more about the food I was eating. Was I nourishing my own body, or was I just consuming whatever was easiest? When I created a cozy, warm spot for him to sleep, I started to think about my own rest. Was I creating a peaceful environment for myself, or was I neglecting my own need for comfort and quiet? His needs became a mirror, reflecting my own neglected self-care back at me. I had forgotten how to nurture. In my quest for independence and self-sufficiency, I had shut down the softer, more caring parts of myself. I treated myself with the same detached efficiency I applied to my work and chores. But watching him respond to my care with a soft purr or a gentle headbutt reawakened that dormant instinct. The positive feedback loop was undeniable. When I gave him care, he gave me affection, which made me feel good, which made me want to care for him more. It was a simple, beautiful economy of love that I had been missing from my life. And so, his very presence became a daily lesson in compassion, starting with him and extending back to me. By making sure his world was safe and comfortable, I began to learn how to make my own world feel safer and more comfortable. By tending to his simple creaturely needs, I remembered that I was a creature with needs too. Caring for him was not a one-way street. He was not just a passive recipient of my help. He was an active participant in my healing, teaching me, through his simple existence, the fundamental art of how to care for a life again, including my own. My problems didn't magically disappear. The cat didn't wave a paw and erase my anxiety or the deep-seated loneliness I had carried for so long. The challenges of life, the stress from work, and the moments of overwhelming sadness still came. They were still a part of my reality, a landscape I had to navigate every single day. The fundamental difficulties I faced remained the same. Nothing on the outside had truly changed. The world was still the same demanding place, and I was still the same person with the same vulnerabilities and struggles I had before he arrived. But everything felt lighter. The weight of my problems, which once felt like a crushing burden I had to carry all on my own, now seemed more manageable. It was as if he was helping me carry the load, not by taking any of it away, but simply by walking beside me as I carried it. His presence created a subtle but profound shift in my perception. The knowledge that I wasn't facing my struggles in complete isolation made them seem less insurmountable. I was no longer a solitary figure battling my demons in an empty room. I was part of a team, because I wasn't facing them alone anymore. Every hard moment, every long night, every wave of anxiety was now shared. He was my silent partner in the struggle, a steady, non-judgmental companion who met my darkest moments with quiet acceptance. When my mind would start to race, I could ground myself by focusing on the sound of his purring or the feeling of his soft fur under my hand. He became an anchor in the storm of my own thoughts, a living, breathing point of focus that pulled me back to the present moment and away from the worries that threatened to consume me. This shared experience changed the nature of my solitude. My apartment was no longer a place of isolation, but a sanctuary we shared. The quiet was no longer empty, but peaceful. The time I spent alone was no longer lonely, because he was there. This transformation was not about my problems vanishing. It was about my capacity to handle them growing. His small, unassuming presence gave me a strength I didn't know I had. He didn't solve my problems, but he made me strong enough to live with them, and that made all the difference in the world. With this newfound strength, something else began to return to my life. Something I hadn't truly felt in years. Joy. It didn't come back in a sudden dramatic burst, but in small, quiet moments that began to sprinkle my days like sunlight breaking through the clouds. It was the simple, unexpected happiness that would bubble up when he did something funny, like chasing his own tail in a frantic circle, or batting at a sunbeam dancing on the wall. These tiny instances of pure, unadulterated silliness were little pockets of light in the grayness that had defined my life for so long. Joy returned in a look. Sometimes I would catch him staring at me from across the room with a soft, trusting expression in his eyes, and my heart would feel a warmth that spread through my entire chest. It was a look of pure, uncomplicated affection, a silent communication that I was his person, his source of safety and comfort. It was the joy of being loved, something I had convinced myself I didn't need. These moments were a powerful reminder that connection, even with a small animal, was a fundamental human need that I had been starving for. Joy returned in a purr. The sound became the soundtrack to my evenings. As I read a book or watched a movie, he would curl up on my lap, and the gentle, rhythmic vibration of his purring would be a constant, soothing presence. It was the sound of pure contentment, a tangible expression of his happiness that was infectious. His ability to find such profound peace in a simple moment of closeness taught me to appreciate the quiet, gentle moments in my own life. His joy became my joy, and his peace became my peace. Joy returned in a quiet night. Before, the nights were long and filled with anxiety. Now they were a time of shared peace. Lying in bed with his warm body curled up beside me, the darkness no longer felt threatening. It was a calm, shared space. The world outside could be chaotic and demanding, but in this small sanctuary, there was just the two of us, breathing in sync in the quiet of the night. These small, recurring moments of joy began to outweigh the difficult ones, slowly but surely transforming the emotional landscape of my life from one of scarcity to one of quiet, gentle abundance. People often think of cats as distant, aloof creatures. They are seen as independent, self-sufficient animals that tolerate human companionship rather than actively seek it out. We have this image of them as solitary wanderers who grace us with their presence only when it suits them. Their affection, a rare and conditional gift. For a long time, I might have believed that too. I saw their quiet nature as a form of detachment, their independence as a lack of need for the kind of deep, emotional connection I secretly craved. My own initial reluctance to let him into my life was built on this very misconception, this idea that he could never fill the void I felt. But what I have learned from this small gray cat who wandered into my life is that sometimes the deepest love is expressed in silence. His affection was not loud or demanding. It was a quiet, constant presence that became the bedrock of my emotional world. It was in the way he waited for me by the door, the way he followed me from room to room, the way he rested his small head on my lap during my darkest hours. He loved me without words, without grand gestures, but with an unwavering consistency that spoke more profoundly than any declaration ever could. His love was a steady, gentle pressure that slowly, patiently brought me back to life. His quiet companionship taught me that we don't always need someone to solve our problems or offer us advice. Sometimes, what saves us is simply the feeling of not being alone in our struggle. He didn't fix my life, but he made it feel whole. He didn't erase my sadness, but he sat with me in it until it felt less overwhelming. His silent love was a powerful force that healed the parts of me that had been broken by quiet loneliness. He showed me that love isn't always about what is said, but about what is shared. A quiet room, a difficult night, a moment of peace. And sometimes, that quiet, unassuming love is exactly what saves us. It's the anchor we didn't know we were searching for. The silent witness who makes us feel seen when we feel invisible. He was not just a cat, he was my lifeline. He was the quiet purr in the silence that reminded me my heart was still beating. For anyone who feels adrift in a quiet loneliness, my story is a testament to the hope that can be found in the most unexpected of places, sometimes on 4 small paws, offering a love that doesn't need to make a sound to be heard.